Well, blessed good morning and welcome to a new week. A week that is considered to be the week before that great event, the Day of Pentecost. A week that is just after the ascension of our Lord. And so it's kind of a holding space, remembering that Jesus would have told his disciples to go back to Jerusalem and wait. So it's a time of waiting, a time of expectation, waiting for the promise. And so this week I want us to focus on the theme to be in the world but not of the world. Let's milk this theme this week as we await the day of Pentecost and see what is there underneath these words that we can in some way extract something of worth from them, perhaps something more than we have in the past, given the fact that these are very familiar words. But let's look at them from different places. See what they say to you. I'll see what they say to me. And somehow between us both, we will be able to find something more within these words. To be in the world, but not of the world. What does that mean? Let's take that into our meditation this morning. And let's see what we can gather from it as we reflect. Coming into this beautiful time of stillness, coming into this wonderful time of the morning, the freshness, the newness, another day, another opportunity. We breathe in and we come into that place deep within us, that place of total stillness, the inner space, that space of being. Being, just being. Just allow yourself to be open to that space with a spirit of gratitude. Just breathe into that space. Just allowing. Allowing for that sense of inner peace. Seeing one's original face. the face we had before we were born. That higher self. Let's be intentional in asking our higher self to be with us during this day. Let's be intentional in making that connection. Ever so often with our higher self. As we turn to our scriptures for today. When Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to serve him. That evening they brought to him many who were possessed by demons, and he cast out the spirits with a word, and cured all who were sick. This was to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah. He took our infirmities and bore our diseases. When I was a young lad, many moons ago, we played several games, especially on moonlight nights. Yes, I would have been around in those days where street lights were a rare thing. And there were many games that we played at night. But there was one special game that reminds me very much of some of what is stirring within me as I reflect on this theme, to be in the world and not of the world. And where I want to begin this reflection on this theme is with the sense of coming into the world. There is the sense when we come into the world, we in many ways lower our vibration. We come from a higher place and we come to this lower state of being. It is the only way that we can experience what there is to experience. It's the only way we can have this opportunity to learn. It's the only way we can experience the other. It's the only way we can experience that sense of duality where there are opposites. And in many ways, it is the only way that this whole life can exist, for us to come into this lower state of being. Holy Scriptures, in an effort to convey this, speak of the creation of man as being formed of the dust of the earth. The dust of the earth. And so the sense is that we are out of the lowest form of anything, dust. And then we make the statement at Ash Wednesday, remember, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. It's in many ways a sense of trying to help us to recall that low existence which we have been born into. But there is so much more that goes with this. The intention is not only for us to come into this low experience, but the greater intention is for us to rise from this low experience, to come back to our true selves. And therein is the work. But this work of coming back to ourselves is fraught with many challenges, many hindrances, many frustrations. It is not a simple task of turning around and going back. And so when I think of that, I think of that game that we played as children. I don't know what the name of the game is, but a central part of it was that there was someone who backed the rest of us at some distance from us. And that person was supposed to say, either quickly or slowly, but always entirely, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. At which moment the individual would look back. They could not look back while they were saying it. They could only look back after they said 3. And our task was to try to reach the individual and touch them before they had a chance to look back and see us. If when they looked back, they saw that anyone was moving in any form or fashion, you had to go back to the beginning. You had to start all over again. And we would play this for most of the evening. And sometimes you would get ahead of yourself and think, well, I can run as fast as possible. But just as you were getting to the individual would look back and you would have to begin from the very beginning, which was frustrating. And some persons had a knack for playing the game and played it very well. Others were constantly being caught. So when we think of this game, it sort of helps me to see life, because so many times in life we find ourselves being caught out and having to start all over again. It just seems at times frustrating when we think we've gotten so far, but we have to start over again because there's something that we've missed, or there's some other experience, some other aspect of ourselves that we didn't recognize or weren't aware of. While in life we do not have to start all over again from scratch like the game, there is still that sense of the setback as something new emerges. We see this, for example, in the system that is referred to as the gene keys, which is intended to be a pathway. And along that pathway, we deal with our various spheres. And each sphere has that sense of a shadow, a gift, and what they call a CD, a blessing. But within that context, there are all these aspects of ourselves that we are intended to deal with. And when I think of our theme for this week, to be in the world but not of the world, what I'm reminded of is that shadow self. The shadow self roots us in that sense of being of the world. The shadow self is when we are at our lowest, when we are immersed in the things of the world, the basics, the lowest experience, the lowest level of whatever characteristic there is there. The Enneagram has this as well. It speaks of the sense of the types and the unhealthy type and the healthy type or the average type. And in all of this, what is intended to say is that these aspects of ourselves, and the Enneagram is based on the 7 deadly sins plus fear and deceit, making them 9. And the thing here is to be able to recognize that shadow, that place that we are most comfortable if we are not doing any work, that we begin there. And life's challenges, those early challenges in life, cause us to either reinforce these aspects of ourselves or they give us the push to come forward. For many of us, because there is not a lot of focus on our inner world, on exploring that inner world, that inner dimension, there is a sense in which these shadows are oftentimes not even recognized as we seek to fit into the world, to be ordinary folks like others. The invitation to be in the world and not of the world is merely the invitation to begin to rise, to begin to deal with our shadow selves and to rise, to begin the process of waking up and trying our best not to fall asleep again, but to wake up and to keep growing up. This is the work that is ours. But oftentimes we are so unaware. Jesus said of his disciples in his high priestly prayer, keep them, as he prayed to the Father. Keep them because they do not belong to the world, just as I do not belong to the world. Jesus sent them into the world, but he didn't want them to be of the world. And this is his way of inviting them to awaken, to come out of the world. In the passage you read this morning, where Jesus is with Peter and the disciples, he heals Peter's mother, and then he heals many who came to him. One can see the image of Jesus as one who has awakened and has risen. His whole process of ascension is going on. Long before Ascension Day, and the other folk with their various diseases and low-level spirits, and Jesus' ability to lift them out of their dis-ease, because at that lower level there is so much dis-ease. And Jesus' work as one who is in the world but not of the world, who is in a sense separate from that body of energy that is so low that it simply generates disease. He's able to lift them up. And in their coming up higher, they're able to release themselves from these diseases. To be in the world and not of the world is to be making every effort, like the game, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, to come forward and to be patient with oneself, not to rush it, but to be intentional so that we do not fall back to sleep, but that we keep moving forward. For this is why we are here, constantly to move forward every step of the way, every day, because this is the important aspect of this work of ours, moving forward and trying our best to grow and to become the more. And we do this as we share with each other, as we learn various systems. We live in a wonderful time. We live in a time when we have these instruments, these tools that help us to understand ourselves. And these tools are becoming available to all persons. Not like in the past where the select few would learn of various things. But now with the time we're in, there are opportunities for each one to do the work, to do his or her work with themselves. Let's not abuse this moment. Let's not waste this time. Let's use it to the fullest, because after all, it is a gift. And God has given it to us in order that we may be all that we were made to be. Be ye in the world, but not of the world.